Greetings to the 12 tribes of Israel, scattered, dispersed, but not destroyed. I want to welcome you to the truth. We are the Awakening Remnant Coalition Dallas. We are here on this beautiful Passover week, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We just celebrated Passover. We have started our new year, our new feast season, our new calendar year. And I am grateful not only for you being here, but to the Most High for giving us this chance to not only fellowship, but to commune in His Word. And we thank you. My name is Yemi'el Ben Yahuda. I am one of the elders here at the Ark, one of the teachers. And I'm joined today by my big brother. He's actually sitting next to me. So y'all can actually see us in the same room for the first time in forever. Malak bin Yasharel. So we want to thank y'all once again for coming in, joining us here on this Feast of Unleavened Bread and Passover. We will be going over Exodus chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I don't know if we're going to be able to cover everything in 1 week. Matter of fact, I know we won't be able to. So we're going to break down exactly what's going on in these chapters and how this not only reflects on the time of our ancestors, but also reflects on the time of today and the things that we're going through. Ooh, I need my glasses. As we go through our sufferings as well. Let Malak in, as you'll see, our background will be a whole real similar. Hold on, let me see if I can let him in.
All right, family. Shabbat shalom. Again, my name is Ben Israel. And again, it is wonderful to say every week to be with you, family, the brothers, Holy Shabbat. This was held the high Holy Shabbat, you know. So we're trying to celebrate not only the death, the burial, the resurrection of the Shia, but also we trying to reestablish our covenant that our ancestors and we broke in the wilderness. We're reestablishing that covenant, that marriage, that union by taking these vows and reapplying these vows in what they call a law or the covenant to our lives, so that we can fulfill not only the prophetic nature, you know, but we can fulfill our obligations, the word that our forefathers swore to the Most High, you know. So again, it's good to be here. Hope everyone is enjoying themselves. I hope you'll bring it in. Also celebrate with other family and friends, celebrating this Passover, because again, you know, looking at the troubled times that we're seeing, the adversaries' economy is being pulled apart. We're seeing how the Western world is acknowledging the fact of who we are. So again, time is of an essence. Time is of importance that we take things serious and get ourselves aligned with not only with the Most High but with each other, and begin to do our duties, our civil, our lawful duties as children of the Most High, and as the priests and the kings of His covenant.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So as we look forward, as we get ready to study the message, Stefan, we got to think. We have to set off some mic in this room that we are. So we want to thank everybody for we want to thank everybody for including and joining us in this time of worship with us. Stefan, I don't remember, but I think you're also the downstairs. If you are, we need to link up. Try to get you out so you can hang out with us. We need more brothers. Thank you. I want to also thank Sister for opening up her home to us. They have plans today. Also, we thank Brother Block and his wife for So, as we get ready to get started, away from Joseph will be here today. Joseph's sons have been Passover, and it's only right for his father to be there and with his family. And we completely understand that, but he will be coming in live for us to be our leader. I'm going to give you a brief history. So, when we look at the application,
I'm in the field. I'm in the field.
yeah. Yeah, I need, okay, just cut your mic off when you come on. So basically, we know that when we entered into Egypt, we did not enter into Egypt in captivity. We sojourned there because of the condition of our lands in Israel. We moved into Egypt because of a great famine, and it took time for the land to heal. Over the time, our brother Jacob, um, our brother Joseph, um, became regent of the area, and he was basically gave a sanctuary in northeastern Egypt. Goshen was a very fertile land. It was a land that contained rivers, it contained streams. Um, it was a very fertile piece of property. But the reason why I believe that we inherited Goshen was because Goshen was the stopping point. You could not come in from Asia Minor into Egypt without coming through Goshen. And so we were basically Pharaoh's first line of defense, or his buffer from being attacked. As we read in the Genesis, the last couple of chapters of Genesis, we realize, or the first part of Exodus, we realize that over time, the 70 people that sojourned into Egypt, time we begin to take over. It is not a proven fact, but we know that in this, there was a change of regimes who did not know Jacob or did not know Joseph came in. And, and I'm going to explain that portion to you, if you can find it. I'm going to explain that to you, what it means. So when it says that a Pharaoh came in that did outside Pharaoh, I don't believe it was. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if his descendants were if he was chief regent and that line of pharaohs continued, his name would have continued. And the only way that could stop is if war happened. And so somebody else came in and took over, and they were not held to the same contract or the same arrangements that the rest of us were. So we were in Egypt for 370 plus years, but only 178 of those years were we actually subject to or subjugated as servants. I want y'all to get that in your head and get a clear understanding of that. Now, somewhere in that 178 years, some of our people took on the ways of the heathen, because we believe that under that rule under the rulership of the auspices of Joseph, that there was a relationship even with Egypt and the Most High.
Well, you know, in the mindset of Israel, to know somebody is to know intimately, not necessarily sexually, but intimately. There's a relationship. There's a line of a certain amount of communication that an intimate person would know with somebody as a stranger. So for him not to know him means that they were not either in covenant for this agreement, or he just really didn't know him on that level.
Correct. And so the Pharaoh was very afraid at this point, and he was like, look, evidently these folks are growing and growing and growing, and they're going to overtake us. It sounds just like today. And so they implemented what we would call Planned Parenthood. And they started, the Pharaoh was trying to make labor harder on the men so they wouldn't want to procreate. And then when that failed, he started hiring midwives and telling the midwives to kill off the men children, but to keep the women.
I found that scripture.
Go ahead.
Brother Joseph, go to Exodus chapter 1, verse 8.
Repeat that again.
By the way, how you doing? Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. How you doing?
Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom, my brothers. Repeat that scripture again.
Exodus chapter 1, verse 8.
Okay. Let me Exodus chapter 1, verse 8. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph.
Keep going.
Okay. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set taskmasters. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel.
Let's stop something. I'm going to debunk the theory. We did not build the pyramids. The pyramids were there when we already went into Egypt. We built cities. We built what they call the city of Ramses, which is Avaris, which we know as Avaris. They have a weird way. Our writers have a weird way of associating areas with people. So when they called it, because Ramses was not the Pharaoh during the time of the Exodus. That's another thing we need to clear up. Ramses was not the Pharaoh during the time of the Exodus. It don't match timeline. Yeah, the chronology of it don't match. So if you look at the city of Ramses, they built that city. They built Parthos as well. This is why they needed bricks. Those bricks that you see on the pyramids were not built by straw. Those were rocks.
Let me add to that. You know, Ramses, there was many Ramses. There was just not one Ramses. So, you have, the different dynasties, 18, 13, 15 dynasties. So you have all these different dynasties that when you look at the chronology, and again, we're not going to get into all that today because I don't have all that in front of me. But, we were in Egypt, but a lot of the things that we would take and say that we did, like as far as the pyramids, that was already established before we even got there.
Long before we got there. Okay, so keep going, Brother Yosef. Sorry, we're in Exodus chapter 1.
Okay, and verse 12. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. And of Egypt spake unto the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Yah, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men and children alive.
So when we look at
And
this, we understand that now they have laid a backstory. So it was not only to put us in the bondage, not only to work us hard, but and to put burden over us and to keep us down so we wouldn't have the strength to rebel. But it was also to limit our numbers. Take out the men children. Sound familiar? Take out the male children. Keep the women because look, we got fertile women, we got good looking women. They want to keep our women, but they don't want us. Henceforth, this is why we have the social constructs that we have today. Keep the men out of the house, keep the women here, marry our women, um, have children with our women. The men children, we'll set them up for jail, and then we'll keep the girls around. We'll let them get their education. We'll let them do all the stuff that they want to. We'll let them know or tell them that they better than their men. We'll tell them all this stuff to keep their heads all puffed up and keep our men subjugated and feeling less than the men. So we'll turn into crime. We'll turn into bad husbands, abusers. We won't look at what we have and appreciate it. This was, and I want you to understand this. This The United States is the second Egypt. So the exact same thing that the Pharaoh of old did to us then, the pharaohs or the presidents or our Congress is doing to us now. This is all setting us up.
Yes, yes. So again, what you're saying, Yemi, is so important that our people see because we hear about this, but now we can see the manifestation of it again nowadays. Because again, these people understand our records, they know our history. So what they're doing is like the old saying, they're taking stuff out of the playbook. The playbook is the Bible.
Yes.
The playbook is the Torah. So they're taking information out of the playbook, out of the Torah, and they're using that history against us.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So you're right on point, Gibby.
Hey, hold on for a second, y'all. Is there any way that we could put it on the TV so everybody can hear? Yeah, is there any way that they can put it on so everybody can hear the scriptures as they're being read? Oh, okay. No problem.
I'm trying to get mine up because I was going to be able to put it on where everybody can see it from mine too. Because like I said, I'm going to do it. Yeah, you hook up to your phone and then hook up to the
Bluetooth connected.
Okay, so as we see the background of what's going on, it gives us a better understanding not only of the conditions that our people were going through then, shalom shalom, but what our people are going through now. This is why it's important that if you do not learn your history, you are doomed to repeat it. This and another thing that I want you to understand as well. Remember, the first blow was not struck by us. It was struck by the Egyptians. by our enemies. And so the Bible tells us in Genesis, I think it's chapter 4, it talks about the spilling of blood and how blood has to be repaid with blood. So
When
when
blood is spilled, it has to be repaid with blood. Okay, go ahead. I finish reading.
It says, verse 17, but the midwives feared Yah and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have you done this thing and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered. The midwives come in unto them. Therefore Yah dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared Yah, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive. Chapter 2. Okay.
okay, let's touch on this real quick. Remember that what Pharaoh is telling them to do. Pharaoh is telling them, okay, every son that comes or that's alive, we need to throw them into the river to destroy them or to kill them. This is the exact same thing that they did with us in the Deep South. Remember the Nile River? Remember the Mississippi River? What is one of the things that we know that are in both those rivers? Gators and crocodiles. So not only did they throw our children in there as gator bait, but they wanted to diminish the numbers of people that we had being born. But the Father still allowed us to multiply, just like in this land that we're in now. Most of our men are in prison. The other half of our men, um, a lot more of our men are homosexual, demasculated men. Then we got men that are dead or being murdered by each other. So what they are doing is the same exact thing that they did during the time of the pharaohs. They're trying to diminish our population. It is, and I'm going to tell you something, and Brother Chauncey and Brother Malak and Brother Joseph can attest to this. We have been about 13% of the population for over 200 years, well over 200 years. At one part in our this country's history, we made up close to 40%. Then there was a time that we outnumbered our captors. They have used cruel taskmasters to diminish our numbers. But the Father said no, he's going to keep us at a certain number. He's going to keep us to where we're still sustainable. Remember, there's only going to be a remnant that he calls back anyway. So the numbers are going to be depleted, but we're going to still be strong. The strongest of us are being woken up to the truth. We're getting in line. We're bringing our families in line. And we're starting to get the understanding not only who we are, but whose we are. Even during the torment that we're going through at this age, it reflects on the Passover of the other ages. Now, we don't need to go any further into this. Now, we understand that out of all this, in the midst of all these problems, the Father's going to always call a prophet. We're almost shouting right there. During the midst of problems, during the midst of trouble, it is always the Father's dealing with us to call a prophet. Why? Because he needs to get his word to his people, and it can't be misconstrued. It can't be twisted. And it has to be from someone he trusted. So, lo in the wilderness, the son of the Pharaoh, or the stepson of the Pharaoh, the step grandson of the Pharaoh, came into prominence, and his name was Moshe. Moshe was born from Hebrew women from the tribe of Levi, put in a basket, floated down the Nile, ran upon the Pharaoh's daughters. The Pharaoh adopted him and wrote and taught Moses or Moshe in his home. Now, I want to throw another twist to you. That wasn't Moses' name. Moses, out of everybody in the scripture, Moses had 15 names. Moses' daddy called him one thing, the Most High called him something, his mama called him something, his sister called him something, the midwife called him something. Moses had more names than 15 people.
Matter of fact, if it's open now, it may be corrected if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, even the name Moses is really Egyptian.
Yeah, Moses is an Egyptian name.
Not Hebrew, it's Egyptian. But we'll get into that.
Let
And
they-
I'll get that lesson for y'all as well, because I have some stuff on that as well, but I'll get that later. But to add to also what Brother Yemi'el is saying is when we look at what our ancestors went through, and we see what we're going through today, it's a clear indication that the Most High's word is perfect. You know what I'm saying? He's really waiting on us. We keep talking about we're waiting on him. He's waiting on us. You know what I'm saying? And he's trying to call his, like he called his firstborn, he's called his firstborn out of this captivity. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead.
Now, what's beautiful about this and what Malak was just saying, he's waiting on us. There's going to be, I think it's in Exodus chapter 2. We're going to get tired of being beat on. Just like most black folks, we got tired of getting backhanded, getting mistreated. And what do we do when we get tired? We march. We ride. We get hyped. The beautiful thing about these people, though, our ancestors were, they called on the name of the Most High. Out of all the things, over all the years, of all the changes that went on in their life, they still remembered their connection to Yah. And they cried out to Yah, and he sent the prophet. He sent the prophet. He's waiting on us, Israel, to cry out. The reason why we haven't left now, there may not be enough people awoke to cry out. There may be a certain number he's trying to get to. But I'm telling you, the numbers are tallying up. Each week, there are more and more people waking up to the truth. There's more and more people abandoning, there's more and more people abandoning Christianity. There's more and more people moving into the understanding of this book. There's more people signing the contract. There's more people claiming their inheritance. There's more people getting an understanding that they are the people, the chosen of the Most High Yah. And as they go through this, we need to start crying out with a loud voice. I remember my father used to tell me, because my father's grandmother was a slave near the end of slavery. And they were in South Carolina. They were slaves on a creosote plantation where they made creosote. And my father was actually born on that plantation in Walterboro, South Carolina. And they used to sing this song called Kumbaya. And if you understand the history behind that song, the song Kumbaya means to come by. or to come here. But it don't mean like come here, just come over here to visit me. That's not what you're asking. Kumbaya is a cry for deliverance. It's a cry for salvation. Brother Yosef, what it mean? Come and destroy these folks?
That that kum also gives the connotation of rise.
Yeah, rise up, y'all.
That kum also gives the connotation of rise.
Yeah, rise up. So yeah, so basically he's telling us to rise up, or for him to rise up in our situations. Come by, kumbaya, rise up, y'all. Rise up. Destroy our destroy our captors, deliver us from our captivity. That's basically what our people in Egypt did the first time. They prayed. Can y'all hear? They prayed and they asked for the Father to rise up and to send them a deliverer, to send them somebody to get them out of this situation. So he called on and he got Moshe. Moshe was the grandson or the adopted grandson of the Pharaoh. Um, so he was well versed in Egyptian culture, but he was midwifed and raised by his mother. So he was immersed in the Hebrew culture. Moshe walked a fine line between both worlds. Moshe knew who he was, but he was able to adapt in both worlds. This was the building of our nation. This was the beginning bricks of the building of Israel or Yasharella. This was the beginning bricks of us leaving from passed down instructions to written instruction. This was the beginning of us as individuals or us as separate tribes to becoming a nation. This was the beginning. Just like now, we need to rise up and begin to piece together what it is, go back to the book and become that nation which the Father has placed not only in our hearts, but in and out through our DNA. Everything that was written about us is in this book. Your enemy knows it. When I think back to the time where the guys were walking around in Dockers in white shirts and burning tiki torches, their whole cry was the Jews will not replace us. Do you think they were talking about them Ashkenazim? No. You got to look through the message to see the message. They couldn't walk around and say, it will not replace us. They couldn't walk around and say the N word. Well, we all family here. They couldn't walk around and say niggas can't replace us. It wouldn't work. So they had to have a rallying cry. You got something you want to say, Joseph?
Oh no, go ahead. You on the roll. Go ahead.
So as we begin to build our understanding, we realize that, remember, imitate art, life. Yeah, life imitates art. Well, life imitates the book. Not only do they know who we are, but they also know that they need us to sustain their way of living. Look, there is no way that an ant mound could survive without the worker ants. When the queen lays eggs. She lays dedicated eggs just to be workers. They're fed a certain way by the other ants that turn them into workers. There's certain bees or certain ants that are made to be men. So they're fed a certain way and they become drones so that they can yeah. There's soldier ants. There's so many different things that in our lives we have to understand that we are treated a certain way so that this colony can survive. They need a working class, and they would prefer it to be us. This is why we can't get loans for nothing. We barely get good jobs. The good jobs that we get, we so nervous to keep them that we'll forget about the Sabbath day to keep a good job. We'll throw away Yah to keep a good job. We've gotten so wrapped up in the hustle and bustle of life that the first thing they did when they made us slaves, they stripped our Sabbath day from us and put a new Sabbath on us. They took our language from us and gave us a language that is bastardized or so blended and mixed with so many other languages that every word that you basically almost every word you speak is a curse or a spell.
Well, you remember, English is not only an equivocal language, like you said, but it's a bastardized tongue, but they call it an equivocal language, meaning words have two more meanings. So you may say one word, but it may have another meaning depending on what kind of context or what status you're under.
That's a fact. So everything that they've done to hold us captive. This is why we have to turn back to the book. But the Father said that he was going to deliver us out of the hands of the Pharaoh. So how did he deliver us from the hands of the Pharaoh? He sent plagues. Y'all, I had a talk with one of my brothers this week. Brother that I was in the church with and ministry with, who's coming into the knowledge of the truth. Love him a lot. And we started talking about signs and wonders. And I was spitting a little knowledge to him. I was telling him, look, the problem with Hebrews is that we spend more time on our phones and less time outside. We don't look up. We always look down. The trumpets that Revelation was talking about have been sounding for years. The problem is we listening, hoping to hear a sound. And the Father ain't blowing no horn. You need to be looking upward. Look, go to Genesis chapter 1 and go to day 4. Go to Genesis chapter 1, Joseph, find day 4.
That should be around 14 or 16, something like that.
Is it 14, 16? This is what happens when your teacher is dyslexic. Said it's 14?
Yeah,
You're muted.
Yeah,
You're muted.
Oh, yeah, it's 14.
Okay, read
14.
14 real quick. Read 13. Read it real quick.
And the evening and the morning were the third day. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Elohim made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
Moet. A moet is a sign or a season. The feast days fall in the periods of moets, where there are signs and seasons that combine. The signs are signs that you can see. That's why he hung the sun and the moon and the stars so we could keep a record of time. Not not our time, his time.
Mm-hmm.
The scripture says it talks about appointed times. And when you start reading, when you get into Exodus 7 through 12, you're going to hear the words appointed time a bunch because he is not only causing things to happen, but he's sending signs for us to see. Not only because we won't believe half of what you hear, we got to see the truth. Not only see it, but hear it. That's why he sent his son, so we could see. That's why he sent his word, so we could see. Because you will hear things and hear wrong. But a lot of times when you see it, you don't miss it. If I heard you stole something, and that's up to speculation. It could have been his. But if I was with him and saw him steal it, there ain't no doubt in my mind that he a thief. So when the Father placed the sun, moon, and the stars, he gave us his calendar so that we can be on time with him. This is why when people say it don't matter what day you worship on, man, are you losing your mind? He set a date and a time for us. And the sun works in the calendar works in such a beautiful way because it rotates around the body that the day may start 12 hours before it gets to us. But we're still under the same period of time. So that all of us, so that on the Sabbath, there is boy, I didn't think about this. That on the Sabbath, if the whole world was in line, on the Sabbath, every hour the world would be worshiping. Think about how beautiful that is. That on that day, no matter what corner of the earth that you're in, from sun up to sunset, the whole world would be worshiping and praising the Most High's name. And as it swept through, hallelujah, that the whole world would have a portion of rest. And not only a portion of rest, but a portion of worship. Just continuously throughout the day, the Father's name will be heard. Holy, holy, holy. This is why it's important for us as children of the Most High to look at the sky. He sent blood moons. There have been more blood moons in the last 5 years than I have ever seen in my 52 years of life.
And again, like I said, going over the different signs, a lot of people talk about when the sun turns, when the moon turns red, they don't realize those are blood moons. Mm-hmm. So the scriptures, from the perspective of a calendar, they're perfect. You know what I'm saying? They're aligned. And the man can't change those times.
Right.
Because again, man has changed the times. Whether it's the sign of the seasons, yes, or the time of day. You know what I'm saying? So when you go back to the sun and the stars, we know that they can't change those things.
That's a fact. It's not ironic that the Father waited till spring or the first year, the first of the year to bring us out of our captivity. This is why it's important for y'all to listen to times and seasons. He brought us out at the most fertile time. The most fertile time. So when we were in the wilderness, we wouldn't walk, we wouldn't hunger, we wouldn't thirst. He could have been cruel and took us out in the middle of winter.
I don't think that most people realize that our people were agricultural. Once you start understanding the agricultural aspect of Torah, you begin to put the puzzles together. You know what I'm saying? So they knew in the plant, they knew in the harvest. You know what I'm saying? They can offer the Most High the good. You know what I'm saying? The good of the harvest, the best of the harvest. Instead of giving the Most High the worst.
That's a fact. Let's go into Genesis. Revelations. Exodus chapter 7. The first plague.
Okay,
Now, I'm going to
Exodus
show you
chapter.
something. Remember what I told y'all. It's going to be blood for blood. There's got to be, when life is lost, that man is responsible for life. So your life, so say for instance, Sister Sonya sitting over here, she get mad at me and stab me. Don't you dare stab me. And I don't make it. Sister Sonya life gonna be called into play. I would say April, but that's more believable. So what you so what we have to understand is that when life is brought into play, if you take a life, you still owe that life. So notice what the first plague was and where it happened. Go ahead, Op.
I'm going to start at verse 14, chapter 7. And Yah said unto Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hardened, he refuseth to let the people go. Get thee unto Pharaoh in the morning. Lo, he goeth out into the water, and thou shalt stand by the river's brink against he come, and the rod which was turned to a serpent shalt thou take in thine hand, and thou shalt say unto him, Yahweh of the Hebrews had sent me unto thee, saying, Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness, and behold, hitherto thou wouldst not hear. Thus says Yah, in this thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in mine hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned to blood. And the fish that is in the river shall die, and the river shall stink, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink of the water of the river. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, say unto Aaron, Take thy rod, and stretch out thine hand upon the waters of Egypt, upon their streams, upon their rivers, upon their ponds, and upon all their pools of water, that they may become blood, and that there may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood and in vessels of stone. And Moses and Aaron did so, and Yah, as Yah commanded, and he lifted up the rod and smote the waters that were in the river in the sight of Pharaoh and in the sight of his servants, and all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood. And the fish that were in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river, and there was blood throughout the land of Egypt.
All right, Op. That's good.
And there was blood throughout the land of Egypt.
So when Pharaoh told the midwives to take the male children and throw them into the Nile to be killed, the first plague happened in the Nile. Blood for blood. I want y'all to understand, in war, one of the first things you want to do is cut off your enemy's water. A thirsty people are not likely to fight you. Now, I want you to understand something. What the father did basically was cause civil unrest amongst the Egyptians. He destroyed their infrastructure. So what do? You don't take care of your roads, your sewage. He even went a step further. He said, okay, Not only am I going to destroy the water that's in the Nile, but I'm going to get the water that they don't put up in pots. It's, it's you know, when you're dealing with a father that said, no, they might bypass that. I'm going to get the water they got in pots and turn that into blood too. And not only am I going to do that, but I'm going to remind them with a smell. And I'm going to kill their fish so they can't turn to the water for sustain of life.
You know what's so powerful about the way the Most High handled things? Again, you've been in the military, and I grew up in a military family. I knew growing up from the conversation with my grandfather, you know, when you want to control the people, you control the food source.
That's it.
You control the way of communication. You control the way they travel.
Supply lines.
Supply lines. So, and a lot of our people have not realized that this is one of the reasons. This is going back to what you said earlier about being 14% and not having any infrastructure. They've been controlling that because they've been at war with us, but we have not realized that they have been at war with us. You know, this is how they do things.
Case in point.
Exactly.
Think back in the 70s, back in the 60s, back in the 30s. Every black house had a garden. I don't remember black people. Look, one of the funniest stories in my life, in my whole entire life, concerns my mama and a garden. My mama would plant a garden, and it would be my job to tend to the garden. My job to hoe them rows and to weed out them flower beds and turn over that soil and to make mulch and to put mulch down and shoot. She was at work. Pick that okra. Pick them figs. You know, we had fruit trees. Black people got land, and if they bought a house, they made sure that it had just enough land so they could put a garden in there. Black folks ain't got gardens no more. The only garden we got is Aldi, Walmart, Target, and if you got enough change in your pocket, Whole Foods and Albertsons. We don't, it is natural for us to turn away from the very source that gave us life. We are people of the soil. It's our skin. It's in our mentality. We have a connection with the earth. There ain't black folks that can't grow gardens. We accidentally grow good gardens. I remember about 14, 15 years ago, me and April moved to Giddings, Texas, and we moved to her family home. And we watched it for our parents because our parents were working out of town. And we planted a garden. And I accidentally planted 16, y'all forgive me, I planted 16 tomato plants. I had 8 okra vines. I planted peppers. I planted melons. I had so many tomatoes, I couldn't give them away. There were tomatoes dying on the vine because I couldn't pick them all. And they were so full and lush that I couldn't see them all. Because, and the okra grew from growing season, it grew through the winter. I had, the only way, the okra vine, the okra plants were almost 8 foot tall when I ripped them out the ground. I couldn't even reach all the okra. I would go out to work I go out to work in the morning, the okra be this big. When I get home, it'd be this long. I'm like, man, I got tired of eating tomatoes and okra. We have a connection with the soil. So what he did was he interrupted how these folks moved. He interrupted their water. Each plague, and just call out the plagues, Ak. You don't even have to read them. Just call out each plague, and then we'll do a brief synopsis, and then we'll go over all the plagues at a later date because it's almost been an hour. but call out each plague.
Okay, so of course we just read about the waters turned to blood. That was the first plague. The second plague was frogs. The third plague was lice or gnats.
Okay, so, hold on. So let me cover those real quick. So flies and frogs, flies, and gnats.
Fish, frogs, flies, and gnats.
So he killed the fish. He poisoned the water. The water turned to blood. So the frogs couldn't stay in the water. So the frogs went on land looking for water. Gnats and bugs. The frogs died. So they had flies. What does all this cause? It causes unsanitary conditions. To this day, one thing you could be certain of, if a gnat flies by you, you'll dang near knock your friend out trying to get to that gnat. We don't like flies.
Showing you how perfect all this is, not to interrupt you, but it disrupted the ecosystem.
System.
See, because again, all these was Egyptian gods as well. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So he was disrupting the ecosystem.
And
And when you disrupt the ecosystem, what happens is it affects the way you can survive, the way you eat. You know what I'm saying? It affects you in so many ways. It makes you uncomfortable. Who wants a house full of flies? Who wants to be around something smelly?
I can tell you about a house full of flies. Ooh, dogs. Listen, this is what's happening. So with the gnats and flies, he's causing them to be uncomfortable. He's causing them to he's putting the what do you call it? He's putting the groundwork for disease. So the groundwork for disease is coming because you got dead stuff in the streets. You imagine all these flies, the frogs. The frogs died in people's houses. They died in the streets. There were more frogs than you can imagine. Flies and gnats eating that dead, decaying matter, the dead fish. Now they landing on you and biting you, or just landing on you. Period, or landing on your food. It's chemical and biological warfare taking place. All right, I name the rest of them.
Okay, number five was the after the flies, there was the pestilence of livestock, diseased livestock. Number six was the boils on the skin of the people. Number seven was hail mingled with fire. Number
Stop right there. Stop right there. So we're gonna go to so okay. So now you have you. So now you have boils, something that plagues black folks to this day. We get boils. As a reminder, I believe of the Most High. Boils and what was it? Pestilence or sickness and the killing of livestock. So now we've cut off your water supply. Now we're cutting off your food supply. We're killing all your animals. Not only are we killing all your animals, but we're killing your means of transportation too, because they didn't have cars. So now you can imagine all the cows, the donkeys, the camels, the llamas, anything that they would use to carry stuff from place to place, their supplies and their food, he's killing.
Not only that, but remember that when we use this livestock also to plow.
To plow, yeah. So they can't
So
they
now
can't
you
plant.
plow. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
Which goes to the
mhm.
next thing.
Which leads you into now fire and hail from the sky. So now he's causing a weather shift because for there to be hail, it's got to be cold.
Mhm.
But this is the spring, and it's not seasonably cold in the region. So now he's causing it to be cold and causing it to hail. But not only is he mingling this hail, not only is it hailing, but he's mingling it with fire. So what is this doing? It's destroying homes and it's destroying crops. The because this is the spring now. So you got to understand the little shoots that they had planted are now coming up out of the soil.
Mhm.
So this hail and this fire is destroying what little shoots of grass or plant life that they had going, he taking it out.
The locusts is eating
And yeah, well, they ain't even finished with that yet. That ain't even came yet. So not only am I destroying it now, whatever you got left, I'm gonna send the rest of the plague. What's the next plague, I?
Plague number 8 was the locust. Plague number 9 was 3 days of darkness. And number 10 was the death of the firstborn. It was 3 days of darkness.
Okay, so number 8.
And number 10 was the death of the firstborn.
Number 8. Now, not only is the grass that's tore up, not only has your homes been tore up by fire and ice, but now I'm going to send the locusts to eat up whatever I didn't tear up with that plague. Whatever's left, the locusts going to get. Now, all through this time, I want y'all to understand, the Father gave Pharaoh an out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I used to read scripture a certain way, and I'm going to be honest with you. I used to believe that the Most High hardened Pharaoh's heart. Like, no matter what I do, you're going to reject it. But I'm starting to realize as I get older and the more that I understand scripture, that's not what it meant. Pharaoh's heart got hard because of the result of his stiff neck. So what happened was every time the Pharaoh disobeyed, y'all made his heart hard because he was like, maybe I should let these Negroes go. Man, look, they done tore up all our fields. I'm not letting these Negroes go.
Mm-hmm.
All that the Most High had asked Moses to ask for was 3 days. I want y'all to understand this is pivotal. All he asked for was a long weekend. When it's all said and done. Now, how many times have you gone to your boss and asked for an additional day off to go with a holiday?
Don't that sound familiar?
That's all Moses did. He was the labor union chief. And he went over to the bosses and he said, listen, the union, I'm the labor chief. I'm coming to you with what is it called? With a request. My people need an additional 3 days off to celebrate a holiday and to go before the Father, shalom, shalom, Jedediah, to go before the Most High and to celebrate their holiday. All we need is 3 days, but we got to take everybody. We got to take our family and we got to take our livestock because we don't know exactly what he's going to ask us to send. This is important, y'all, because in all actuality, when you are enslaved and it's time for your release, and we've been over this for months, your release comes, you're supposed to leave out of the land with substance. But the Pharaoh was trying to keep that back. Well, they done destroyed all our cows, but none of the cows in Goshen got destroyed. So we're going to need milk if we can't drink water. We're going to need meat because we ain't got no livestock. No, you can't take your livestock, and you can't take your wives and children. You can go. And then he was like, no, you can't even go. So
when you think about it, in his mindset, he thinking they're not going to return. So I need to keep something. I need to keep something to ensure that you're going to return.
Because I've lied to y'all. My word is jacked up. I'm a liar. I'm a cheater. I go back on my word. So if y'all leave out, who's to say that y'all gonna come back, even though you say you are?
Exactly. Just like right now, if we take our people and we give them a 3-year window collectively, imagine what happened to this economy.
Oh,
so the same thing that's happening now is the same thing that was happening then.
Well, I would say this. The reason why it wouldn't hurt them as bad is because we like to spend money.
That's right. That's my
And
point.
so, if Negroes took a 3-day weekend, we're gonna be at the liquor store. We gonna be at Target. You know, we gotta buy clothes everywhere we go. If we go on a vacation for 3 days, you can't wear what's in your closet. You gotta go buy something new.
Go buy new food. They gonna buy the new Easter suits.
Yeah, you gotta spend some money. So they've got this way. They've gotten us indoctrinated to where we don't even make clothes no more. Black women used to make clothes. My grandmama had a sewing machine, and that she couldn't sew, she would sew by hand. She had a sewing kit everywhere. You remember them blue cookies? Them cookies that came in the blue in the blue tub? That was the black sewing kit. You know dang well she had one thing of them cookies that nobody ate unless you was really, really hungry. Oh, and then she had one that was empty that was a sewing kit. It had that big cushion ball in it. It had some thimbles or the things you put over your fingers. We sewed. We made our own clothes. We don't do none of that no more, y'all. What we gonna stop the lesson. We ain't going into no more scripture. Most High says the same. This is what I want to tell y'all. If y'all haven't learned anything in the last 6 months, the last few months since we've been back, we need to cleave to who we are, and we have a heritage. There used to be women in the neighborhood. My grandmama, I remember, my grandmama used to quilt, and there would be women that would come over and quilt with her, and they would make these big old quilts that was heavy as hell. And I remember because she had this bed, and you remember back in the day, black folks didn't even throw away mattresses. That was our banks, to be honest with you. That used to be our banks. Because my grandmama, the house caught on fire. My grandmama pulled that mattress out of there because she had money in the mattress. But my grandmama would stack mattresses. And so, me being a short 5, 6, 7-year-old kid, we go to Arkansas to visit. We'd have to climb up on the top, and she'd have them heavy quilts, and she had them Bunsen burners for them stoves that was in the wall, that them propane stoves, and so you know all the heat rose, and then you 16 feet off the ground in one of them big quilts, you burn up. But that was how we lived as a people. We when your harvest would come in, if you had too many, you would give to your neighbors. Remember what I said about the tithe a few weeks ago. All this is tied in. We gave to each other because we gave out of our abundance. And even we gave out of our lack. Knowing that if his crop didn't come in, well, I got a little more grain or I got a little more beans than my neighbor. I'm not going to eat all these beans. Plus, I got beans that I canned from the last season. Remember when black people used to can our food? There used to always be a pot on the stove with some mason jars in it. And my grandmama would make preserves. She would grow peaches and blackberries and strawberries. And she would make preserves, watermelon rind preserves. My grandmama used to do all this stuff. And we can't reach back and grab none of it. My grandmama's been dead. She died at 90. She was 93 when she died. Um, and that was 2000, I think it's 2008. Um, all those recipes that we used to make food from scratch. You can't find too many folks that can make biscuits from scratch. That know how to take cornmeal and make real cornbread. Mixing flour and cornmeal to make cornbread. There ain't too many people that know how to skin an animal. I remember my granddaddy would go hunting. These are things that we have lost, y'all. My grandmama fished every day. It was not rare for us to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go out and fish, catch a few fish, bring them in and fry them up hard for lunch, or even to add to our dinner. Israel, we've got to turn back to what we know. Segregation was not a bad thing. Being separate but equal. I understand that you want the privileges that you see your captor have. But the scriptures, if we would have read the scripture told us he was going to make us jealous of our captors. We're content on looking like them. The first thing you see when you see a Hebrew Israelite woman nowadays, when I'm sitting up here looking at a gaggle of them, you see the long dresses or the pants with the hair wraps, the free-flowing clothes. Why is this? Because they need to be protected. Break up the form. Men, we used to care about our women. Now, I'm not saying that we weren't dogs, because my granddaddy was a dog, but he took care of home first. My grandmama didn't want for Nathan. And there was always food on the table. My granddaddy would go out every year and shoot a deer or two and make sausage, or have deer meat in there. Now, we had strayed away from the truth, and, they would slaughter a hog.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I realize now why I went through what I went through growing up. Because me and that show talking about this the other day. I've been out there hunting. I know how to hunt. I know how to fish. I know how to do all the mechanics. I know how to build. You know what I'm saying? So growing up, I thought I had a hard childhood, but I started realizing why I went through what I went through. Now, just kind of appreciate it, because when you can have a conversation with men, me and his brother, we were talking about this the other day. I told him, I said, yeah, man, I told Sonny I want to take her boys out fishing. I'm going to take them out fishing. We're going to go camping, we got the tents, and we're going to start doing some of this stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to start taking this stuff and really start, again, not talking against, what we've been through, but like I was telling my wife this morning, I said, I wish we could have just went out in the garden and picked all this stuff. I ain't trying to go to no Walmart or no store. I'm supposed to go right in my backyard and do this. This is what we're supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? And we got to get back to that. We got to stop making excuses, man. We got to grab the bull by the horn, and we got to get out there. We got to start doing it, because the minute stuff happens, you can't say, well, I'm ready now. The Most High has been preparing us over and over again, so we don't have no excuses. You know what I'm saying? So put that in y'all spirit, brothers, because we're going to start getting these young men. We're going to start doing some boot camp, and we're going to start getting out there, and we're going to do some fishing. And again, and I'm going to bring y'all out there and show y'all how to break. I tell you what, Brother Joseph, I know I know Melinda might remember the class, and I know you should do it. Remember that class I took when we had the other organization? I showed the brothers how to break down the gun. I would have brought my AK-47 out there and showed them how to break down the AK-47.
Cleaning. It's brothers, we need to learn how to cook too.
So there you go. Come on, cook. That's right.
There's certain things that we need to learn how to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
I want us, as we get ready to close, I want us to all understand this. The reason why he was able to take us in the wilderness is because we had skills to survive.
Come on.
Now, what the church would have you believe is that he's going to take and gather us, and that he's going to put us in our land, and everything's going to be hunky-dory. Who's going to build it? Who's going to plant the gardens? Who's going to dig the ditches? Who's going to protect it? Well, he's going to protect it.
Yeah, he's going to protect it, but we going to be there.
We got to work. And ain't but so many spirits coming out of the ground to help. I'm just being honest, y'all. We got to start learning these skills over. Because if you are alive when the Messiah comes back, and you happen to make it through the war that's going to ensue, and you are happy enough to exit it into the land, they're going to be shells of homes, but we're going to have to know how to patch them up. We're going to have to know how to plant gardens. We're going to have to learn how to dig ditches. It's going to be a little bit different. There ain't going to be Wi-Fi and cable. All that's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Baby, when this war kick off, look, y'all, I'm going to be honest with you. When the Messiah come back, all these creature comforts, you might as well get rid of them. You better have a gun because there ain't going to be nobody to keep the zoos. So the wild animals that's at the zoo, y'all don't look at the big picture. I'm looking at the big picture. The wild animals that are in the zoo, when them electronic gates unlatch that are held by magnets, and them bears and them lions and them tigers get out, hallelujah, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be some oh my moments. Brother, I'm telling y'all this because everybody talk about revolution until it's time for the revolution. But before there's a revolution, you got to always prepare. This is how they get us. So I want to just leave that on your heart. Next week, we're going to go further into this lesson. We're going to cover the Passover. It might take all month, and then again, it might not. But I guarantee you, by the time next Passover come around, you're going to know how to celebrate it. You're going to know how to look up in the sky, and you're going to know how to count the days. You're going to be able to understand why the solstice happens and how to count the beginning of the year. I was listening to some Hebrews on TikTok yesterday, and they was arguing about Bantu people was Africa really Israel. And this brother, I thought I liked him at first. Me and him were cool. We even talked on the phone. This brother then flipped the map upside down and said Moses came out of South Africa, y'all. And he said because the Nile River started at the ocean. Well, we got geological evidence that the Nile River starts in Mount Kilimanjaro. And the reason why it flows north is because of land elevations. And it flows into the Mediterranean. This brother would have you believe that it starts at the tip of the Atlantic, down in Cape Town, South Africa, and flows all the way through the continent of Africa. And he feeding the Hebrews this. So I asked the brother, are you keeping Pesach? Are you keeping the high holy days? Now you know about geography. You teaching this mess about you to bond two people, but you ain't keeping no high holy days. What you need to be teaching them is how to keep high holy days. The Father don't give a damn where you started. He gonna put us where we supposed to be.
But that goes back to what you just said. It goes back to something that we as a people have to start realizing. Israel is not the land. Israel is us.
We are.
We going.
We migrate.
That's what we have to start realizing. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty. That's actually why it's hard for these people to let us go, because every nation that had us in subjugation flourished.
Was rich.
They was rich. So that's why they hid all this, and that's why they keep trying to make it difficult for us to, you know what I'm saying? Again, if the wealth gap is the issue, fix that by doing what you're supposed to do.
That's a fact.
But they're not trying to do that, because guess what? If I equalized all that, what's going to happen is you're not going to be dependent on me no more.
That's a fact.
I need to keep you dependent on me. But that's the whole thing about us being self-sufficient, being able to grow our own food, being able to do our own clothes, being able to, so on and so forth.
And understand this: the stocks and bonds and all of this, NASDAQ and all of this other stuff is basically a way to wager on us. I want y'all to understand this. It's a way they wager on us. These companies wager money on profit. So they want to keep us shopping. So the textiles and all these other things, cars, because we'll buy a car in a heartbeat. We'll have the raggediest house on the block with a brand new car in front of it. And it won't be no cheap car. How many black folks you know live in a $30,000 house with a $45,000 car in front of it? Don't make sense, but that's what we do. We would rather put money on our backs than money in the bank. And even when we put money in the bank, they use our money to make more money. It's just a perpetual cycle of keeping us down. 13%, 17% of the population has basically grown the top 1% from the time that we were enslaved here in this country to now. Brothers and sisters, we got to wake up. I hope that you tell somebody about our meetings here on the Shabbat. Grab a friend. Tell a friend to listen. Look, we ain't going to beat you up. We all of us. All of us, except for Sonya, came out of the church. Fortunately, Sonya, my sister Sonya, has been in this walk her entire life. Raised her kids up in this walk. So, boy, that just got me emotional. We have cleaved to the man and his systems long enough. We need to start asking the Father to come by here. But we got to prepare to go. Listen, on that night before the Passover, he told us to mark blood around the doorpost. And when the death angel came, he would see the blood on the doorpost and he would pass over. The Hebrew letter Hey. People say that Dalit is the doorpost. But look at the letter Hey. He told us to mark the doorpost. Whew. Sorry, y'all, I'm about to get shook up. He come to preach in me. To mark the doorpost with the blood. And when you look at the doorpost and it's marked, it looks like the letter Hey. Hey, behold, I'm here. I'm here. Look, I'm here. Passover. Praying to the Most High in the blood of a lamb.
There's so many, how can I say it? There's so many examples of the covenant and the relationship being repeated over and over. It's like the 40 days of wilderness, right? Then we have Yeshua being tempted in the wilderness for 40 days. You know, like you said about the blood on the doorpost, the sacrifice of lamb. So we have Yeshua. So again, we see how it was manifested in how, not only through the word, but it was manifested in Yeshua and what he did as an example for us. And not only Yeshua, but even our forefathers going through the different captivities. So the comforter is not only the word, but coming together right here as a family to give each other comfort, to say, you know what, when you're going through these different trials and tribulations, I can lean on my brother, I can lean on my sister, I can lean on whomever. And yeah, but good
We got to be able to prepare to get ready, because when he takes us out of here, it's going to be quick. He said he's going to come like a thief in the night. And lo and behold, that's just repeating what happened on that night in Egypt. That death is going to come through and it's going to take away people. We love you here, and we hope and pray that you receive something from the message. Stefan, I sent you a message. Well, I actually friended you on Facebook. It's in my government name. So just look for me so we can get together, brother. I think you're close to us, so um, we want you to be a part of this. We're regrowing the family. So I want y'all to get a friend, family member next week and have them to watch. We're going to take them through the word. And hopefully by the end of the month, we're going to do some talking with the family. We're going to start trying to bring it back together to where we can have it in a family setting. Hopefully. So we thank y'all for joining us here at The Truth, part of the Waking Remnant Coalition. Um, Brothers, y'all have anything y'all want to say before we go? All right, we're about to go into our foot washing ceremony. Y'all, I would like for y'all to see what we're doing. Sister and Brother Vale, Shabbat Shalom, pick your brain about. Yeah, come on and ask a question. Matter of fact, write my number down. I'm gonna get. I don't care because I got that block on my phone. Okay. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do it like that. Email us at the ARC DFW. The ARC DFW. That's we spell ARC just like you normally spell ARC. DFW. Email me there, and I'll send you my phone number, and that way we can talk. Because I love to talk to y'all. Matter of fact, yeah, that's what we'll do. Sister and Brother Vale, I will, since I'm on Facebook with y'all, um, leave me a message or leave your number. Did you spell it right? Say, can we? Yeah, April got you. So we're gonna, I'll give y'all a call today. Matter of fact, so leave me your number in Messenger on Facebook, and I'll give you a call today, and we'll talk. Um, and any question that y'all pose, if I ain't got the answer, we'll answer it next week. Um, I want to thank everybody for coming and joining us. Have a peaceful rest on this Shabbat. Enjoy the rest of your feast of unleavened bread. Um, enjoy each other, Israel. Enjoy each other. Because the Father is enjoying us being obedient to His word and doing those things which He has called us to do. These feasts were ordained and preordained by Him, and so it is good for us to keep them. Love you guys, and I want to close with saying Shema Israel, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Bless the body of Israel and bless all of its members. Be blessed in the name of the Most High Yah. Be covered in the blood of Yeshua HaMashiach. Until we meet again on the next Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom.